Week 1 of the NFL season. It's finally here, folks. The Browns play Sunday against the Cowboys. I can't wait. There's a new stadium name. The first depth chart is out. Some injury news and a lot of fantasy football. And oh yeah, we're going to break down in detail the schemes, what the Browns have to do, the keys to victory against those Dallas Cowboys. Let's get to the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara, the sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
Chubb runs, he's to the 10, 15, he's to the 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. There goes Chubb, he's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Shabba-lubba hub.
It's gonna be sick.
Welcome to the show, everybody. And you heard there the voice of the great, the legendary Jim Donovan, play-by-play voice of the Cleveland Browns, announcing earlier this week he's stepping down to battle cancer once again. It's returned, so Jimmy's focusing on his health, and I just wanted to make mention of that. Everyone has had the outpouring of support for Jim Donovan. Of course, he's an absolute gem. I've never met him, unfortunately, or spoken to him myself, but I know people who've worked very closely with him and say he is just an absolute gem of a human being. And personally, I've taken and listened to over the years some of Jim Donovan's play-by-play and taken notes from my own career and getting that cadence. And what Jim does so well, and what's overlooked now, is the difference between radio and TV play-by-play, where the radio side really is where you hone your craft, your art, where you have to be the most creative because you're painting that picture for the people who aren't watching it, right? And Jim did that so well. Like when he said Nick Chubb on the right hip of Baker Mayfield out of shotgun, you can picture it. Jim Donovan, absolute legend. So hopeful for a recovery for Jim and that he gets better and focuses on his health. I just want to mention that off the top. Jim Donovan, absolute legend, and has been an inspiration to me personally. Some Browns news. The new stadium name. Everyone excited about that? Huntington Bank Field. 20-year deal. Huntington Bank Field. So that's what I guess Cleveland Browns Stadium is going to be called now. And if it turns into a Brook Park Dome or whatever in the future, I suppose that name will carry over. So that's something there. Now, the Browns' first depth chart has been put out. I want to take a look at this because this is interesting. So listed, starting left tackle, Jed Wills. Starting right tackle, Jack Conklin. Now, what 99% seems like it's going to happen. Jed Wills did not practice on Monday. Tuesday's the day off. And at this point, he hasn't practiced since last November. He's not playing. Jack Conklin has been taking the reps on the left side. Jack Conklin's an all-pro right tackle who played left tackle all through college. Now, the problem is Conklin's coming off of another major surgery, as we know. Right? He had the big surgery 2 years ago, came back, first game out again. So can you rely on him health-wise? No, but hopefully, because I'll tell you this, if you have a healthy Jack Conklin, who's still only 30 on the left, and DeJuan Jones, who was just awesome as a rookie on the right, coming off of his own injury, that's a hell of an offensive line. And that's the strongest Browns offensive line you've had in a long time, at least since Joe Thomas was playing for sure. So if you have that combo, and then when Jed Wills comes back, depending on the combo, then you have a starting caliber left tackle as depth. It's a great situation if the health can stay there. So that's some news there. Outside of that, the depth chart-wise, nothing crazy. Dalvin Tomlinson's back. He's going to be ready week 1. That's good. Greg Newsome said, quote, 1,000%. That's the one I'm surprised at because Newsome's was a bit of like a scope, or not Newsome, Tomlinson's was a bit of a scope. Newsome had hamstring surgery. I thought for sure he'd miss a couple, but apparently he's ready to go, as is Denzel Ward. We got Devin Bush and Jordan Hicks listed as the two of the starting linebackers, along with JOK. So we're looking good. We're looking good. People are pretty healthy right now. So the main thing, of course, is can Deshaun Watson stay healthy? And what do we do about the Dallas Cowboys? I'm going to get to also a lot of fantasy football talk a little bit later in the show. If you still have your draft coming up, or you're ready for week 1. We got waiver wire pickups all ready for week 1, some draft talk. And because of some injuries on other teams and stuff, just some things to sort out for the first under the wire waiver wire pickups of the year. So I'm super pumped about that. Make sure you get your questions in using hashtag Ask Andy. Click follow, subscribe, like, share the show on YouTube, on Twitter, X at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, on Instagram and TikTok at AndyMCSports. But when we want to get a deep dive in, but when we want to break it down and really look at a Browns opponent, we bring in my guy, high school coach from Cleveland.com. Lance Reisland joins me again. He's back. Lance, how are you, brother?
I'm doing very well, Andy. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you, man. I love having you on because this is really for, you're a football junkie. We got the fantasy football coming up later. This is the X's and O's. This is how we prepare for these Dallas Cowboys. And look, there's been a lot of ups and downs and turmoil with the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb, he's on a weird commissioner's list, but he might play. It's kind of strange. Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons. But what's your initial thought on Browns Cowboys week 1?
Well, I think the Browns match up very well. I think the stars from both teams will make their plays and they'll kind of cross each other out. I think some of these matchups, the Cowboys have a couple rookies that I think the Browns can really attack. Good rookies, but the Browns are really strong at where those rookies are. And then they got to find, more importantly, they got to find an answer for Micah Parsons, because as good as CeeDee Lamb is, they'll double. The Browns are absolutely outstanding in the secondary. What they need to do is because the tackles will either be new. Jack Conklin hasn't played over there in a while, or it's going to, whoever it is, they're going to need some help. And regardless of who is playing over there, when you have Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, you need to have a plan for those type of game wreckers, because they will ruin your game plan if you don't have a plan for them. So I think the Browns have the advantage. The Dallas Cowboys have had a lot of turmoil. They haven't had a lot of guys practicing. For me, it's all about reps. The Browns are finally, I think, taking reps as a team. I do worry a little bit about the tackle situation, but I will tell you, I've always been a fan of how Kevin Stefanski helps those tackles with chipping and changing the launch point, doing some of the things he does. So I think the Browns have the advantage. Obviously, we'll see how it goes on Sunday. But if you ask me why the Browns are going to win it, it's because they can run the ball, stop the run, control Micah Parsons, and get the ball to who they need to get the ball to. On the offense side of the ball. And as you stated, we've all stated, Deshaun Watson has to, be good. He has to be, I don't think he has to be 2020 Deshaun Watson. He just has to make the plays when they're presented to him.
Exactly. It's funny you bring up 2020, because the Dallas run game, if you were talking about it in 2020, you'd be like, wow, that's a really good backfield of Ezekiel Elliott, and you have Dalvin Cook waiting in the wings. 2024, though, not so much. So this makes, I think, the Cowboys a lot more one-dimensional, because you don't have that breaker through, right? This is a situation where Zeke Elliott's been averaging, I think, like 3 yards a carry for a couple years now.
Well, yeah, so you're right. It's a lot of tread on the tires, I like to say. Those guys, those NFL backs who have pounded like those guys, they just don't last. It's hard to last, without taking that constant pounding. But that's kind of my first key. The first key for the Browns, I think, is they got to control the run game. And the run game is something, if they can control the run game and make them one-dimensional. So if they can get it to second 8+, that gives you an opportunity to rush the passer, a strength of the Browns. That it gives you an opportunity to cover, a strength of the Browns. So, and what people don't understand, not only is that secondary really, really good, but the secondary is made better by that defensive line and their pressure. So I think the Browns can create great pressure. I think that, once again, though, it comes down to stopping the run, packing that line of scrimmage, getting 7-8 in there, and daring them to throw the ball, and maybe helping out CeeDee Lamb and Ferguson and when necessary. But I still think you got to challenge inside the box and be who you are defensively on first down.
Make them one-dimensional. Jimmy, if you can bring up that first Schwartz gets in the box video here, if you don't mind. There we go. Take us through it, Lance.
So this is a classic, right? This is a second 10 here last year. And this is what you get with the Browns and Jim Schwartz. You get this is 21 personnel. So you got a tight 2 backs, 1 tight end. And the Browns, when you get multiple tight ends, multiple backs, the Browns are going to put 8 in there. They're going to put 1 safety deep. That's going to be Thornhill. Delpit's going to be down in the box. They're going to play man coverage outside. That's what the Browns are going to do. And they're going to do that regardless of what CeeDee Lamb does. Now, do I think they can play zero coverage and have Thornhill shade CeeDee Lamb? Sure. But I also know they have great confidence in what they do. And a lot of what CeeDee Lamb does is downfield. And they feel like, I feel they think they can get home with their pressure. So that first clip is just the idea of, if they're going to come in a run set, or even if they're not, even if they're spread, Browns are going to crowd that line of scrimmage and try to get it to second and long, where they now are in charge.
And we have to remember, too, that interior pass rush for the Browns is going to be upgraded with the addition of Quentin Jefferson. That's a lot better than having Phillips in there. So you got Tomlinson, who's back and ready to go, Jefferson beside him, and then we know how they can mix and match with Garrett, Smith, Obo, and you can really kind of make those different looks confusing.
Well, yeah, so now you have, on first down, you're going to get Thompson and Harrison there, two really heavy guys who rush the passer better than people think, but two really heavy guys, especially Tomlinson. So Tomlinson's going to give you that ability. What Tomlinson does, too, is he's going to occupy a couple blockers on every which is going to keep JOK clean, because the only thing that keeps JOK from being an all-pro is if he gets a guard or tackle at 300 pounds consistently running at him. So Dalvin Tomlinson, for me, is very important for JOK to keep him clean. Him and Shelby Harris will do that. Then you get it. If you win first down, now you can start mixing and matching, right? You got guys, you can bump those ends inside. You got Obo. You got, like you said, you got Jefferson, who's an outstanding pass rusher.
Yeah.
Jefferson, you got these guys that could come in and kind of be specialists and pass rush specialists on second, third, and long. Absolutely.
Now you mentioned, of course, CeeDee Lamb, who again is on this, and I'll touch on this again in the fantasy football section later in the show, what to do and how to prepare for that. But CeeDee Lamb on an exempt list for 2 weeks, but it doesn't mean he can't be activated at any time. Very strange situation there with Dallas and Parsons at the contract stuff. But two of their big weapons, CeeDee Lamb and Ferguson, the tight end. Jimmy, if you can pull up one of those that the Browns must be physical with Ferguson and CeeDee Lamb off the line of scrimmage.
So it's during camp. I thought, last year, the one thing that struggled maybe a little bit in the secondary is when teams would isolate, Delpit and Thornhill or McLeod or whoever was in there. Sometimes they would go after him. The Texans went after Hickman a little bit. So I thought the Browns did a very good job. They're also they allowed them to press. And so when I look at Ferguson and I look at Lamb, 283 targets last year. That was almost 48% of the targets. So when Dallas throws the ball, they're throwing the ball half the time they're throwing to those two. And obviously CeeDee Lamb with 135 catches. But what I think the Browns can do is be physical with these guys in space. CeeDee Lamb to start with. CeeDee Lamb he's a good route runner, but what he is, he's a great separator. He's an elite athlete. He's in that Jamar Chase where he's able to just do things naturally with his ability to get open. So he runs the full route tree, but he's not a precise route runner. He's an elite athlete who creates separation with his athleticism. And then he's great run after catch. So I think you got to kind of bottle him up on the line of scrimmage. They got some guys that could be, Emerson could be physical with him. Ward is great with jumping in the hip if he's running deep routes. So the Browns have some options there. With Ferguson, obviously, I think the Browns are built for teams that pass. JOK can cover, but both of these safeties can cover, and the safeties that back them up can cover. But I think the key is, if in true passing situations, to make sure that you press Ferguson. If he's to a defensive line, make sure that defensive end maybe gives him a shot on the way out, especially on third down in that 4 to 8 range. Obviously, these are what Jim Schwartz does this for a living. They'll have a plan for those two guys, but I think it comes to crowding them like Delpit did to Ferguson and being physical at the line of scrimmage, because if you're physical and get them off their routes just a little bit, then the pass rush gets home. So they work together as a unit. And that's when you talk about team defense, there's team defense. Granted, you might not be able to cover CeeDee Lamb for 4 seconds, but there's no way you can hold the ball 4 seconds against the Browns D-line. That's the theory. In theory, that's what they're thinking.
Yeah, I love that. And every second counts with this Browns line. We'll talk about Myles Garrett in a couple minutes, but him, Smith, that interior, and especially if Jefferson can be that difference maker and get that middle penetration that the Browns were lacking last year, that really, especially for the more mobile quarterbacks, that'll really help collapse, because then the quarterback has nowhere to go, right, Lance? Then it's okay. Hey, they're coming at me. They're coming from the side. I can't step up in the pocket. Now I'm in trouble. And if you jam a CeeDee Lamb off the top, all of a sudden you're looking, you know where to go, and then it's over.
Well, yeah, Mike McCarthy's a guy who likes to get 5 out. So he'll chip, but he really likes to get 5 out. And a lot of those under routes open the, they do a lot of high lows and things like that. So he likes to get 5 out. Can't do that against the Browns. Now, what the Browns do, because of the size of Zadarius Smith and Myles, is that those guys can bump down in the guards. And remember, those guards, the reason they're guards is they don't move as well laterally as those tackles. Those tackles, even Guyton's, he's a rookie, but he has elite movement. He has some things that he needs to work on, and is going to get exposed by Garrett, I believe. But those guards, they don't really move well laterally, and the Browns are going to get in that wide 3 and that wide 5, and they're going to pass rush, and they're going to blow those gaps, and it's going to be very hard for those guys to move, especially if you can win first down. If you get it to 2nd and 3rd and long, the Browns now go from 2 really good teams. If it's 2nd and 8+, the Browns now have the advantage.
Yep, and with Greg Newsome coming back, certainly that helps with that hamstring, which, again, I was surprised he'd be back week 1 with having the surgery. Okay, so that's how the Browns defense can help control the Dallas offense. Let's move to the Browns offensive side of the ball, where we have a different look coming in. There's no Nick Chubb to start. It's a running back committee. You got Jerry Jeudy in the midst. Cedric Tillman's going to have an expanded role. Cooper's back. And, of course, Deshaun Watson, the big question mark. And the tackles are going to be very interesting to see how Jack Conklin plays. Can he stay healthy? Because when healthy, you'd think, that's going to be a really good situation with DeJuan Jones. The guy they have to really account for. And they got more than just Parsons. Micah Parsons is the guy. Jimmy, pull this up here on how Njoku and Ford really, or the guards, really they need some extra help, I guess what we're saying, right, Lance?
Correct. So once again, if they get in the passing situation, they absolutely cannot leave, Micah Parsons alone. So they got to chip with Njoku like he did here, or you're going to see here in the next clip, you're going to, let's say right here. So you're going to see Njoku chip on that end. And then also, not only does he chip on the end, but the idea of getting rid of the football quickly. Joe Flacco did that very well last year. He didn't make it. This is just a 1-2-3 balls out because of help. And this is what Deshaun Watson, I feel, has really gotten to this summer camp, getting to watch him almost every day. He's really getting rid of the ball. He's really processing information.
Good.
And, the thing is, he's got to get the ball out. But once again, you cannot leave Micah Parsons on his own. So first thing you do is you chip him either with the tight end or the fullback or the tailback coming out. And I think they got to consistently do this. They got to help whoever at left tackle, because whoever is at left tackle has not played it a bunch, regardless of how good they are. And I think Jack Conklin is one of my favorite players because he's so tough. But again, they got to help him. They cannot, especially, they got to run the ball at him. They got to make him tired. They cannot let Micah Parsons just rush the passer. He's got to play the run. And when you have to throw it, you got to chip him.
You got to do it. Bring up now, Jimmy, the right guard helping the right tackle here. The other clip there too. Really, I think when we look at it, again, if you have the tight end and running back chip, you're also going to need some help from Mr. Wyatt Teller, the pancake specialist. Look at this.
So you're going to see. So once again, you get an even front. And what the even front does is that if that center is not very mobile, then that guard has to stay in there a lot longer, especially if that defensive tackle is in that B gap. But Ethan Posick's such a good athlete. You're going to see him slide right here, and then Teller can go help. So Posick can be left alone because those guys, Posick, Batoni, and Teller, those guys don't need a lot of help. So what it does here is it allows Teller to get out here and help, the right tackle or the left tackle or whoever the tackle is. Now, what does this mean when Teller slides here? When it runs again, you're going to see the right tackle, Hudson. He's really going to get out of there. And what that does, he's taking away the outside more than he normally would. He couldn't do that if you didn't have help, right? Because the guy was inside. But he now knows he has help inside. So he's oversetting, right? Because he's going to take away the outside. Now this guy's going to spin inside to his help. So it's not only knowing that you get help, but it's oversetting so you don't get beat to your outside. I've always been a huge believer in what Kevin Stefanski does. He'll have a plan, regardless of who their tackles will. He'll have a plan for those pass rushers, because in the NFL, those elite guys, which these two are, you have to have a plan for.
No doubt. Jimmy, bring up the graphic, the launch point, because this is going to be very important, because where we saw Joe Flacco do the kind of the 1-2-3 pop from that earlier clip, Deshaun Watson, we know, likes to improvise, right? And sometimes instead of a 1-2-3 pop, you do 1-2-3. Oh, I'm going to run around. I'm going to look for the home run. And then whoever is on you. Talk about the launch points here, Lance.
Well, so controlling Parsons comes down to first and foremost running the ball at him, okay, and making sure that you run it at him, and then you chip him and you get rid of the ball quick game, whatever it is. And then the next thing you do is you got to make sure that the quarterback is not a sitting target. You got to make sure there's not a bullseye. So if you're a non-mobile quarterback, or you're in an offense where it's straight drop. So if you look at these numbers, 1 would be a 1-step, 2 would be a 3-step, 3 would be a 5-step, and 4 would be a 7-step. And really all that tells you is the depth of the quarterback. So if you look at the numbers going out to the side where you got 5, 6, 5 and 6, basically what this means is that wherever he's going to be, whether it's play action or drop back or sprint out, They cannot allow Micah Parsons just to say, you know what, he's going to be at 8 yards behind the center. Every time they throw the ball on a passing situation, he's going to be 8 yards behind the center because Micah Parsons is going to win if he knows that. What you can do, though, is that on first and second down, maybe you run the ball at him, get him a little tired. Now he's thinking about the run. Now you get rid of the ball quickly. Now it's third down long. Now you chip him. So now he comes up to a true passing situation. You've run at him. You've gotten rid of the ball quickly. You've chipped him. And now maybe you get away from him. So now he has to think about all these things. Now he doesn't know where the quarterback's going to be. And constantly doing these 4 things will make it really hard on a pass rusher. You know, the big thing is you got to help, but don't have Deshaun Watson be in the same spot. Make him, run the boots, run the waggles, but get the ball out, but change that launch point. Never have him in the same spot. That makes it very tough on a pass rusher.
Love that. And you're right. Very important. Deshaun Watson has the skill set to do that. He's not a flat-footed guy. So very important there. Now, on the Browns defensive side, let's swing back because this matchup, I think, is a tremendous comparison that you brought here with Myles Garrett versus Mekhi Becton, who's a 6'8" monster. And the Dallas Cowboys have someone similar, Tyler Guyton, 6'8", 322, and athletic, but Myles with his superior bend. Throw that up, Jimmy. Let's see Myles Garrett here. Just outrageous how good. Look at that. Come on.
So what you got here, there's a couple things that make it really tough. First of all, he's a rookie. So when you're a rookie tackle, Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma, he played mostly on the right side of Oklahoma and only had 26 starts. So the footwork's going to be a little bit different. Now, the thing I will tell you about Guyton is that he ran a 5'1", had a 34.5-inch vert. He's a really good special athlete. But like most athletes of his caliber in college, he got away with some things. And one of the things he gets away with is his pad level. So just like Becton here, Guyton will play high. And when you play high, it causes you to do 2 things. One is you don't bend down to a low pass rusher. 2 is you really struggle. And then overtimes you'll overextend and lunge because you're high. And you can't do those. So now he's going to face a guy who's not only stronger than him, but faster than him. So just as much as Micah Parsons is a problem for the Browns, Myles Garrett is a huge problem for Dallas in terms of you better chip. The same things we said about Micah Parsons, they have to be thinking about for Myles Garrett because Myles Garrett is even a bigger version than Micah Parsons. He's as good or a better version because of his size. So I do think that matchup, I think Guyton's an outstanding player and he will get better, but I couldn't think of a worse matchup for a guy who struggles with his pad level, especially with the Myles Garrett bend and his speed. So you're going to see him. If they don't help on Myles Garrett will have a career day running the edge against Tyler Guyton. He's only started 26 games. He's barely played. He mostly played right tackle at Oklahoma. It's just a really bad matchup for a really good rookie tackle.
And that's where that Jim Schwartz creativity comes in. Because if you want to double Myles, which you should, well, you still have Zadarius Smith, who you can move inside outside. You got Obo there. We talked about the interior tackles. It's a really good situation. I love that matchup. That might be my favorite matchup of the day. Because you're right. If Myles Garrett can do that, and I'm kind of getting visions of that Chicago game versus Justin Fields a couple years ago, where boy, Garrett it was who was the old Jake? I forget. It was the old tackle who's like retired now, whatever. And he just owned him. Oh, he got like 5 sacks. So let's do that. That would be fantastic. And then really for the Browns, as far as weapon wise, it's a mix of Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, Jerry Jeudy. I'm interested, Lance, on how, because we haven't seen too much, nothing in the preseason or even heard too much of how this offense is going to look with Kevin Stefanski still calling the plays, but the Ken Dorsey influence. So I guess that's something we're all going to have to find out together.
Well, a couple of things that, I saw during camp, being down there during most of training camp is they're going to be a lot more 11 personnel. So you're going to get Njoku, you're going to get Ford, and you're going to get the 3 receivers. You're going to get Moore, Jeudy, and Cooper. And when you go into this game, you got to assume that Cooper and Diggs are both going to make plays against each other. Where I think the matchup is Jerron Bland is hurt. And him being hurt, now they have to start another rookie. And even though, again, Kalen Carson's another rookie who started, was a really good player out of Wake Forest, but he moved to the 4th round. And the reason he moved to the 4th round are the reasons I think the Browns are going to attack him with Jeudy and Moore.
Okay. And let's see how much passing. What does the running game look like? Is it, because originally it was like, okay, well, it's all going to be out of the shotgun, but Stefanski's there. So is there going to be some stuff under center? What's that going to look like? It's going to be really, really interesting where the Browns go at it. Lance, let's get some final thoughts from you before we say goodbye about this Browns and Cowboys game. Anything that we haven't mentioned yet that might stand out, or a player to watch on offense for the Browns?
Well, I think, Jerry Jeudy's a guy that we want to see, see what he does, as people in Cleveland. But I'll tell you a matchup that, not a lot of people are talking about, and I kind of just was thinking about this today, is that Jordan Lewis is a really good nickelback, but he's an undersized nickelback. So if he has to cover Jerry Jeudy, I think that could be a tough matchup for Lewis deep ball. Now, I think he'd cover Moore very well because he's got great feet. But if they're in nickel and Browns go 11, he might have to cover Njoku too, which is a physical mismatch because of Njoku's side. So you want to see how the Browns use Njoku. You want to see how they use Jeudy. You want to see how they create these matchups, because Dorsey's a matchup guy, just like Stefanski, like Schwartz is on defense. So I think it comes down to, what do they think their best matchups are, and how do they attack those matchups? Because I think defensively they're going to be pretty dominant. I'd be shocked if they weren't dominant. And I think if they can win special teams, be really, really dominant on defense, and then hold their own on offense, I think this is a game they can win, especially being at home. And, with the Muni lot, that place is going to be absolutely bonkers on Sunday afternoon.
Boy, 425, Tom Brady's first broadcast. No turnovers, Deshaun. No first pass pick sixes, okay? Keep it clean, and I think we win this game. I'm with you. That place is going to be bouncing. Lance, always love having you on and getting your insight, man. Tell people where they can find you.
I'm just on X. It's Lance Reisland, LanceReisland. Same thing on Instagram, just at Lance Reisland. If you have any questions, shoot me a text, and I'll try to do my best to answer it for you.
Well, and Lance and folks, like Lance's breakdowns of like some footage of stuff that you saw here is all over the place there. It's fantastic. So Lance, thank you again. We'll talk soon.
Andy, thanks for having me. We'll talk soon, my friend.
All right, there he goes. Lance Reisland, high school coach from Cleveland and contributor to Cleveland.com, and just a great insight. I love breaking that down. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. And just really getting a feel for how this Browns-Cowboys game is going to go. Make sure you follow us on X at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81. And remember, folks, NFL Week 1 is here. New season means new ways to get in on the action as DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. So, are you ready to place your first bet? How about trying betting on something simple, like picking a player to score a touchdown? Or, we look at this Browns-Cowboys game. How about an anytime touchdown score? For example, if you think Amari Cooper is going to score a touchdown on Sunday, pays out plus 175. Think David Njoku plus 240. So those are a couple of options that you can go. Make it simple, keep it fun, add that excitement to the game there. And if you're ready to do that, then do your touchdown dance. Get it ready. You got your Brown celebration dance. You got everything ready to go. I can't wait. And also, we got our friends at Homage. Now, I got my shirt. You can get at AndyMC81 on the pinned link, Fantasy Football Champion. But Homage has some tremendous Browns gear. For example, look at this beauty. The original Browns helmet, established 1946. You've seen me wear on the show my Otto Graham shirt. At Homage, they have a ton of Browns and Cleveland and sports gear all over. Specializes in ultra comfy, high quality looks, repping sports, pop culture, and more legendary moments. Learn more about Homage with the link in the description. Super comfy clothes too. Like, they're just nice and soft. They look good. They look great. Like, I love that shirt and my Otto Graham shirt. I'm going to be wearing that to Cleveland when I'm down during the Cincinnati Bengals game on October 20th. Can't wait for that. Okay. Browns, Cowboys. Let's talk a little fantasy football here, friends. Okay. And I have some under the wire waiver wire pickups if you got it, Jimmy. So one that I feel needs to be picked up, right away. And he is being started right now in 0% of leagues. He is only 3% rostered. If you are a CeeDee Lamb owner, or even if you're not, and I am in a couple of my leagues, and like I said, there's this weird exempt thing. Is he going to play, won't he? I want Jalen Tolbert. Okay. Jalen Tolbert, third round pick out of 2022. There's no Michael Gallup anymore. Brandon Cooks gets injured all the time, and he's pretty basic at this point in his career. Tolbert has the chance to be the other outside guy and really make some moves, especially if Lamb misses any time, or Cooks, or anybody, and he can step up. So this is somebody, if Lamb for some reason does not play on Sunday, I would feel great about putting Jalen Tolbert in as a flex, or maybe even a WR3, depending. The Browns defense is tough, but at least keep him on your bench. That's something you really need to keep an eye on. Another guy, well, Jamar Chase. We got another top wide receiver diva who's not showing up to practices and all that. So what do we do? Well, Tyler Boyd's gone. T. Higgins wanted to be traded. How about a little Andre Yasevich? Okay, spelled Iosivas. And if you are a subscriber, which you should be, click subscribe, notifications on to the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. You'd remember I mentioned this guy, not this year's draft, last year's draft, as someone I absolutely loved. I wish the Browns got him. The Bengals got him. This is somebody who is a riser. Similar sort of to Tolbert in the sense that going to get an opportunity to be that third wide receiver. So the third wideout. And he, again, is being started in 0% of Yahoo leagues and just 2% rostered. If as a handcuff to Chase, as just an extra, if you got a couple guys at the end of your draft, you're like, I don't know. This is somebody who I think could be a fringe sort of flex contributor to start the year, maybe get more opportunities. So Yasevich. Another one, Adonai Mitchell. This is the past year's guy who I was gushing over my combine crush. Oh, I wanted the Browns to get him so bad. Didn't get him. The Colts got him. Now, he's being rostered in a few more leagues. Adonai Mitchell. And I got him. Yeah, there we go. I got him in I'm going to be in 5 fantasy leagues. I got him in 3. So he's 31% roster, still under our 50% threshold. So you have to think about this. Michael Pittman's not great with the deep ball. Deep vertical, the separation's not, still great receiver. Adonai Mitchell is 6'2", smooth, big strides, great natural pass catcher, the separation. Adonai Mitchell's a stud and he can go up and get 50-50 balls too. The question is Anthony Richardson with the Colts, right? Is he going to play? Can he stay healthy? Well, we know he's going to play, but can he stay healthy? How's his deep ball going? He's got the arm. Does he have the accuracy? That's a question. So again, Adonai Mitchell is somebody that I want to have on my bench right under there, especially with how we know how pass heavy the league is. So those are 3 right there. Adonai Mitchell, Andre Yasevich, and Jalen Tolbert. Now, there was a couple running backs I wanted to run through with you guys for as well. Sam Pirine, hottest name out there. I'm not telling anybody anything new. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is on injured reserve. He is now the prime backup to Isaiah Pacheco with Kansas City. We've seen Pirine in the pass catching, maybe Jerick McKinnon type role, be able to provide some value in the past and in this Kansas City offense. So again, somebody weak. Am I going to start Sam Pirine Thursday against Baltimore? No, but I want to have him to see how it develops. This is what this part of the fantasy year is. The first 3-4 weeks, those guys you're not sure of, those depth guys, you keep them, you watch. Come week 4 or 5, he's done nothing, then you drop him. But maybe there's something really nice there that you can hold on to. And certainly as a handcuff, to a lesser extent, Jaleel McLaughlin in Denver with Javonte Williams there. Man, that Denver offense sucks. Bo Nix, I don't know. Like, if you can't get Sam Pirine and you're looking for some depth, handcuff, I guess, but they got a lot of people floating around there in Denver. I don't like it. Jordan Mason is very interesting, 26% rostered for the 49ers. Elijah Mitchell, season-ending injured reserve. So if anything happens to our buddy CMC, Jordan Mason, and we've seen that Kyle Shanahan can pop guys in. So Jordan Mason is a really nice, that's somebody, if he's sitting on your waiver wire, you're having your draft and you're picking later still, Jordan Mason at the running back spot, really good. Marshawn Lloyd is a handcuff as well. A.J. Dillon's on season-ending reserve, so he's after Josh Jacobs. So Marshawn Lloyd. Now, he's been banged up, though. So that's why I'm feigning away from him a little bit. A couple other guys I like going into the year. Jalen Wright. Again, you're going to park him for the Dolphins. We've got a lot of bodies. Shane Mostert, but Wright could be the most talented of the 3 if he gets a chance. That's an if. And, yeah, wide receiver. Tight ends. The top guy right now might be Noah Fant. There's no other competition. I don't know. I think DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Tyler Lockett probably take that. If you punt it on the position, I guess he's going to be the guy to get the opportunity. So maybe the remaining tight ends that are probably on your waiver wire don't excite me. So hopefully you got, you got one. But Noah Fant could be an option. Dalton Schultz is another with Houston if you didn't get them. So we got a question and 2. We put it out earlier on X at SickPod Browns. At AndyMC81. Let me just pull this up here. as far as, and use hashtag Ask Andy, of course. When it comes to sending in your fantasy questions, we get to them there. One from War Dogs here. I have Lamb in one league and Chase in another. Should I be picking up wide receivers just in case? Hashtag Ask Andy. So yes, that falls into the categories that I talked about there with Chase, Andre Yashevich, and Jalen Tolbert for CeeDee Lamb. Now, these guys obviously aren't going to replace them fantasy quality-wise, but if you're in a pinch, your draft's over, you might as well get someone that's going to get some opportunity. So get those questions in. You can leave them in the comments. You can put them up on Twitter at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, Instagram and TikTok at AndyMC Sports. And remember, hey, with the NFL season coming up, and we're going to be live Sunday, by the way, 10 a.m. Eastern, live Sunday, and we're going to be making our DraftKings Sportsbook bets. It's at our perfect DraftKings fantasy lineup. So you can score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the best place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code SICKSPORTS. That's code SICKSPORts. All one word. For new customers, get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on us. That's new. How about that? NFL Plus Premium on us if you do that using code SICKSPORTS. Only on DraftKings. Crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 1-877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus, age and eligibility varies of jurisdiction, void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. So there we go. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms. How you like that? Boom. DraftKings got you ready for the NFL season. I'm pumped. We're going to be getting ready Sunday. Like I said, live 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm not getting up at 7. 10 a.m. Eastern. Browns game's at 4:25. Don't forget, late afternoon, right? The primetime afternoon game. 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going to be live. We're going to be taking your fantasy football questions. We're going to be setting our perfect DraftKings fantasy lineup, taking DraftKings Sports Kings bet tips, and get you ready. Football is here. Big thanks to Coach Lance Reisland for breaking this Dallas Cowboys Browns matchup down. Let me know who you think is going to win this game. I'm going all Browns. Let's do it. We'll make our official prediction on Sunday. To producer Jimmy and to all of you, thank you. We'll see you Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern, live on the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. And as always, go Browns.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.